It was really bad. We were shooting off the waves and trying to time our landings, and it was just godly.
That'd be scary, yeah.
Hang on. Yeah.
You know, what might be nice,
Mike, man, introduction.
could I,
Are we ready to go?
just a sec, do you think we could get the name tags that'll help us start learning each other's names?
Do we have, like, stickies?
Pretty much all of us know each other except one or two.
You know what we can do? Is go like this. And we go like this, and we put our name
Yeah, there you go.
on a piece of paper.
Yeah, we can get cards, okay?
No, everyone.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get some card stock, and we'll just make them up like that.
Okay.
All right?
You know I'm clever as a toilet lover.
Recording.
Before we get started.
So I think, do we want to, so yeah, let's start off with introductions, and then we'll jump into this and start going. My name is Mike Weston. I'm the city manager at King City, and I'll pass it on to Max, and then we'll just go for it.
My name's Max Carter. I am the city planner here at King City.
I'm Gail. I'm on the budget committee, and I'm the one that lives up.
I am currently chair of the planning commission, served on council. I live on Royalty down toward the bottom, and I get to see all those traffic.
Yeah, you do.
Steve here, I'm also on the budget committee, and I live on Queen Mary.
Jennifer Johnson. I live in, Castle Oaks on Bedford. Shauna Thompson, previously served on the city council and served as mayor as well.
And I'm Cindy McCullough. I live in King City, I'm King George, and I'm on the Detroit board.
And who all are we missing?
John Cook. He's excused,
Okay.
because he's on a cruise.
Who else?
Bob, missing Bob.
I didn't see his name on the list, but he's actually having a foot problem, so.
Okay. And then, roll call, please.
Who else are we missing? So we only have 8 right now? So we have 1 open spot then?
And who's Bob?
Bob Kerr, my husband.
Oh,
Oh. Yeah, I didn't see him on the list either.
I think I have to go far back to the minute.
I just didn't see him on the email.
Yeah, that's why, and
Oh, that's because I forgot to send it to you.
I didn't see your name on the email.
I did forward it to you.
I'm taking him to the doctor after this, and it's,
Okay, that's fine.
So we have 6 of the 8 present, 2 absent, 1 excused. 2 excused.
I'll take that as a roll call. I just need to elect a chair.
So first order of business usually when we have a committee is to elect officers. Usually there's a chair and a vice chair. We're asking you to select amongst yourselves a chair and a vice chair so that that person can chair these meetings.
I planned on nominating John Cook because of his experience already going through charter revision, but he's not here, so that makes it a little complicated.
I wanted to nominate Jennifer Johnson.
But I haven't been on any.
You're not interested, okay?
I'm new. No, I'm not interested.
It would be good that you were new.
There to contest
so we still nominate.
You could still nominate him and vote for him if you wanted, but, you know, it would be, if he did win, then you'd need to select a, like, vice chair that would hopefully be one of you 6 that are here today that can run.
I have also sat on a charter
you-
committee as well.
Did you want to nominate Mr. Cook?
I would like to nominate Mr. Cook, even though he's not here.
I'll second that.
All right, so, I have a, nomination, a motion and second to nominate John Cook for chair. All those in favor, which show,
Nominate anybody else?
well, this is for the chair, and then we'll have a vote on that. And then,
Put it down,
if
then
you
you
just
would
vote it
nominate
down.
someone else.
You only nominate one at a time, you can't have more than one?
That's preference is to do it that way it's clear, and if he doesn't have the votes, he doesn't have the votes, and then we'll move on to the next one.
I mean,
Gretchen was expressing an interest, so,
are you interested in being the chair as well?
Yeah, and I've served on the charter review committee as well.
yeah, I'd like to nominate Gretchen.
Okay, right, so.
We have a motion, a second on the floor, right?
I know, right?
So you have to discuss if you want to nominate John, or if you want to vote for John, and if you decide that you don't, then you
Yeah.
vote him down, then someone else would nominate Gretchen potentially, then you vote on that.
Right.
So there's already a vote on the floor, which is to elect John as the
Yeah,
chair.
so before we go to a new motion, we need to resolve the motion that's on the table. So,
Do we have discussion points now?
you can have discussion, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a motion and a second to select, John Cook as the chair.
Okay.
And now we discuss that, and then we'll move into, a vote, see how that vote goes, then we'll look at, a secondary motion. Okay.
I think John's a good candidate.
Like, he's not a, resident of King City.
Valid point.
But I do believe, didn't in city council, there was a vote to allow people who were not
Mm-hmm.
in the city to be on the committee.
Yeah.
They're an elected official,
Okay,
an elected official.
that's right.
Yeah.
So not just this committee, any committee.
I think it was, I don't know, but if it was just,
It was, I think, specific, yes.
the exception was made because he does bring so much
Yeah,
expertise and
and he lives
Leader.
right on the edge of.
he may be a
Probably
teacher.
Similar to what you.
Yeah.
I'm in King, I pay King City taxes. He does not.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
The joy of paying all those Washington County additions.
I'm a native Oregonian, I've always paid taxes and always appreciated what I got from him.
Running meetings.
And he knows Robert's Rules of Order like the back of his hands, I'm sure. Yeah.
And we have two great candidates, so I think maybe we should decide on one of them for the chair and one of them for the vice chair.
I agree with Jennifer, the fact that that we already made an exception for him to be on the committee, I don't think we should push it farther, and, he's really qualified, but that's my concern.
I agree.
Okay, we can take a vote. So those who want to select, Mr. Cook as the chair, please raise your hands. Those not in favor, please raise your hand. Or motion fails. So we'll entertain another motion for a chair.
Voted chair?
Jennifer. We have a motion and a second to select Gretchen Boehner as the chair. Question?
She probably has the majority, so.
Maybe we just vote on it and.
I just tried very hard.
Yep, yep, we know you will. Yeah, I'm sure you'll be great.
Lots of meetings.
I'm sure you'll be amazing.
Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed?
You want to vote for yourself?
All those,
I know.
those abstaining?
It's weird.
So Chair Boehner, you want to take us away and give us,
Do we need to nominate?
we need to nominate a president as your first action. We need to nominate a vice chair. So, pass the gavel.
Entertain a motion for a vice chair?
I nominate John Cook as vice chair.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second, to nominate, Mr. Cook as the vice chair. All the, discussion?
If we need to keep in mind that he might not want to be vice chair, so,
It's hard when
when he's not here.
he's not here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when you get appointed.
Any other discussion? You want to call the question?
Votes, please.
All those in favor, show of hands. unanimous.
You're welcome, John.
So we have a chair and a vice chair. We can get going. I'd like to start the proceedings just introducing a little bit about what got us here and what were some of the root issues of concern. Our charter was last amended in 2012. Prior to that, the language was actually amended in 2006. The 2012 amendment was based on the fear of the Southwest Corridor having a transfer station at the, near, I think it was the Astro. Or not, is it Astro down there? Space Age? Sorry. But they were planning Southwest Corridor and having the end of the line be at the Space Age. That drummed up a lot of fear at that point in time, and I think Tigard and King City adopted a ballot measure just to prevent any mass transit. So Tigard's recent charter basically got rid of it. This is still, and that was the last amendment to our charter. Other amendments were made in 2006, but the reason that we were here was because of a few things that have been pointed out over the years. One is that it was preferred that the mayoral seat be an elected seat. We were talking about pay for the council members and establishing a compensation committee and a budget committee to establish what that pay or stipend might be. If we have a mayor elected by seat, then what's the mayor's, or reviewing the mayor role and the president role. I already mentioned the public rail system. Districts were one of the things that we were considering. I'll leave my personal preferences out of that, but, and then, term limits. And then, one of the things that prior councils wanted to discuss were like recall conditions. So, those were bullet points that I had brought to my attention, and to that, I hand it over to you all to review, discuss, and figure out where you want to take this.
Can we add a bullet point?
Sure.
I was gonna make a suggestion before we get into hashing anything. People think about things you think might be appropriate to include in a charter change. And, one thing I was gonna raise in terms of having districts have more equal representation, we're gonna have to think about, all of the population that's going to be coming from the town center and then the development immediately east of Elsner. That's going to be, I anticipate the town center section will be pretty much built out by 2030. Probably a couple of years later for the next development. I mean, I don't know what you think, big developments are coming. But that's why I think we're really going to have a serious discussion about how to implement districts if we go that way. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, with the district question, it really becomes, do we have enough people and candidates in each district, right? I know, when we first initially started talking about establishing a charter committee, this is all the way back in, the era of Mayor Gibson. And he was a big fan of having representation from equal areas around the city. And when we tried to fill vacancies, he was like, well, what area is not represented? And then we would go to that area and try to entice somebody from that area to come and represent. Like, I know when, Councilor Boylston left for, Lake Oswego, we went and reached out to Councilor and former Mayor Thompson, and because she was down in that general vicinity. And then, or maybe it was Councilor Moore, I can't remember exactly.
Both of us.
Yeah. But I think when Councilor Nguyen Ventura departed, we looked in Edgewater for a replacement. When we lost members in the KCCA, we looked for members in the KCCA or members from the Highlands. And it was very important to him as mayor to have that representation across. That doesn't mean that we can always fill those seats when it comes election time for getting volunteers, and we have had trouble getting people to volunteer for this. So keeping that in mind, we might, what I'm saying is we might not be big enough for districts just yet.
The reason I was bringing it up is, yes, I agree right now, but I'd like to maybe put a charter provision that would trigger districts when the population out in the new part of town, gets to a certain number, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if we could somehow make a recommendation. I don't know if it would be included in the charter, or if it would just be a recommendation going on the record that we have that recommendation that the charter, that they take another look at the charter in 10 years or something and consider moving to districts.
Can you do that by, this is a question. So if we have the different charter sections, can you write in one of Article 1 that this will be reviewed in X amount of years?
Great idea.
Sure,
Yeah, I think if it was set to be reviewed in 5 years,
Yeah, it's a great idea.
I think that trigger is going to have happened.
It could be a time, or it could be a population, like a 10,000 per people population.
You can have a trigger.
And just because we have districts doesn't mean that we have to limit that to just one seat. Like, you could have
Oh, no, that's,
multiple seats per district, like,
but making sure we at least have a seat.
So probably, how many times are we gonna meet?
that's one thing that we wanted to talk about with you today. That was one of our orders of business, was establishing a, systematic time and place where we can actually meet. And so that was actually one of our first agenda items that we wanted to discuss with you, is establishing a consistent time and date of the month that we can actually get together and have these.
So our objective is to have it done by when?
Well, we'd like to try, I think we can get it done relatively quickly. I think that this group, depending on how deep we dive into this and go into issues, I think we can probably get a lot of these things resolved within 6 to 8 months.
The resolution that was passed by the council that established this committee had a deadline of 2020, the end of 2026, or 2025, the beginning of 2026.
So we have,
Not fiscal year though.
No, the calendar year.
So
So December 31st was like the deadline, and then
but we can go back and extend that based on the fact that it's so long to get.
it was originally 18 months that was passed.
Yeah, our goal is to have some recommendations by the end of the year. And, I asked, Tigers kind of what they did when they did their committee, and some of the team rules that they had were getting like a super majority, considering that we have to put this out to the electorate, and we want to make sure it's a good idea. And so some of the team rules is before we propose something that we have a super majority of the group, at least, like 70%. So not just 50 plus 1, but like 70%. That way we know for sure that everybody is on par. Hopefully it's unanimous. Yes, we want to do it. But those will be, I think, at the next meeting, we need to probably get everybody together to kind of establish the ground rules for how you want to govern this process. Yes,
Can we get a copy of those, Tigard,
sure.
grad rules?
send you all that. It's pretty easy to get to.
So you want just their committee rules that they use?
So look, that's the trick.
Any process?
You send me
The reason I'm using Tigard is because they're our neighbor and they just went through it.
Yeah.
And that's my closest reference of like how the process worked. And it passed, there's passed, so, it's an example of a successful charter amendment, so,
Are there any suggestions in the small city group that we're in?
I haven't really seen too many small cities go through a
I
charter.
mean, like the, organization where you're part of the Oregon.
The League of Cities.
Yeah.
Well, LOC has a model order, like a model charter that we could pull. I don't think we need to go all the way, start over. I think we just go in and be
See what they
very
have.
selective when, and I think once, we're fully established and we have our ground rules set, then the committee can go through this section by section. And if you have amendments or recommendations, take a look at it and say, what do you recommend? What do you want to do? If we supermajority, then we're done, and we move on.
Like Steve said, what days? When are we gonna do it?
That's for you to decide.
This one,
Yeah, Wednesdays are really tough for us because we have city council, planning commission, and everything gets packed into those days for agendas and everything else. Preferably like a Tuesday or a Thursday, be hour better.
I can't do Thursday.
You can,
Friday, I like Fridays.
Friday's
good. Friday's good.
Friday morning,
Friday morning's good,
Not too early.
Gretchen, that work for you?
maybe
I
10
just
o'clock.
have to change my gym schedule.
Oh.
Do it.
No, I've been very diligent.
Good for you.
Yes,
That's amazing.
and I normally am there, and just means I have to go at 7.
8 to 10?
If you want to do 9:30, 9:30.
Yeah, could we do later?
We could do 10 to noon.
Yeah.
Is that
Okay.
helpful?
we want to aim
Shower
for
before you come.
this Friday, like the first Friday of the month, second Friday of the month,
Where are we at right now?
maybe the first and.
The first Friday would be 2 days.
How about the, second and fourth Friday? We could do maybe 2, I don't know, is 2 months too much? It might be.
Yeah.
We'll probably need it,
Yeah,
Yeah, in the beginning.
Right.
that's twice a month then.
Friday,
Is it okay to shoot for the second? Well, I know.
I'm off on Fridays usually, yeah.
Oh, no.
You're off on Friday? What about Mondays?
he works the
Ronnie's off on Mondays.
Come on, you guys.
Yeah.
I really would like Fridays because I do work and that is I work 3 days a week and Friday is my day off.
I mean, I
Fridays
can,
are fine, we can make it work.
I can come in for these, it's fine.
If we're gonna do twice a month, I think
I could be virtual.
it's done in like 3 months.
Yeah,
I mean,
I would
honestly,
think
it's not a.
it's not that much.
Ten-page document.
Yeah, and if we just focus on,
But some of it just stands alone. It doesn't,
I read over our charter and the Tiger charter last night. Very similar.
yes,
We can just take so much from theirs and copy and paste it into ours. I mean,
I agree.
there's really not a ton of work that needs to be done. I mean, honestly, it's really not a ton of work.
So that should be our
Just
starting
not.
point, probably.
What's that?
Uh,
Going through the Tiger
Yeah,
charter and
yeah.
comparing them?
Okay.
I think that would be the best, like, homework for everyone, is to review them side by side. And, like, I found some redundancies in ours, that's easy fixes. But also, like, their preamble, for example, is one sentence, you know, it's half the size of our preamble. You know, we can just kind of consolidate, but I think that would be a good way to start, is by comparing them side to side and contrasting them, and they did a lot of things right, and it would be a good guideline for us. But honestly, I think if we're meeting twice a month, we should be able to wrap this up in 3 months. I don't see any reason why it should take any longer than that.
So second, fourth Friday.
If you want to meet twice a month, yeah. Which is a hefty commitment.
okay, what day is the fourth Friday, Tuesday?
Sorry, excuse me, 23rd.
23rd, okay, I'm here, I'm gone.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually ran it through AI to see what the recommendations do. And that would be a good AI project, is run the King City Tigard and see what you get. Because that, you know, takes all
Oh my gosh,
5 minutes.
seriously, that's amazing.
And do it through, I use couples, so use it through like Chat and Gemini and just see the difference.
Is that for?
Oh, yeah, it's, yeah, of course.
Yeah?
Oh,
Never done anything like that before.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Unique cooking.
So logistically, what are we gonna do, make recommendations? And you guys will.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of cringing at the 2 a month too, because we have to go back and draft them, right? So it might like be a little stressful for us to try to get everything done. In the meantime, we're all city council, planning commission and all that jazz, and
I think once a month is.
a little strain. Yeah, I think if we did once a month, it might give us a little bit more time for prep on our end.
Yeah, that's
Just
understandable.
please remember, we are still a very small staff,
Yeah.
even though, we have a lot going on, but like, I know Max is strained out already with all the developments going on over there. I know Ronnie is strained and maxed out. I know I've been pretty maxed out lately.
Like, what if it was, instead of just a suggestion, instead of 2 a month for 2 hours, 1 a month for 3 hours? And then you have 1 month to come to the table with everything that you have and 3 hours for everyone to hash it out.
We could probably provide a lunch if it's right around
Yeah.
lunch hour.
Second Friday,
As long as we take a good break in the middle.
Oh, right.
Yeah, do that.
We'll just, how about, we'll try to make sure that we get some pizza and stuff for the meetings.
And make sure we stand up every hour, just, I mean, I don't know about it, that's all. This is stress.
And
Second
Why don't we
Friday.
just do 2 hours? We don't really need a 3-hour meeting.
I agree, I don't think we do
2-hour
either.
meeting should be plenty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
3 hour meetings.
and then what are y'all gonna do, use Google Docs, or are you gonna?
We use Word.
I can't use Google Docs.
I would like to suggest that we do the last Friday of the month, since it is the last day of the month right now. And that gives people time to plan
So
for
that's
the next one.
23rd.
The last Friday of the month would be May 30th?
I am, San Diego.
is that, Memorial Day?
Proposing the last.
Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, Memorial Day weekend is the weekend.
Oh.
Starts the 23rd. So Memorial Day is as early as it ever.
I'm gonna be gone in
July.
Okay, never mind.
Let's just
Second.
Okay, May 9th.
And it'll be,
That'll be May 9th.
Okay.
Wait a minute. That's
May 9th.
not budget, that's the fifth.
No, May 5th is
May
budget,
9th? Okay.
yeah.
For the second Friday of every month.
Oh my God,
Ronnie?
I traded my Friday for that Monday.
And Mike, I have an ignorant question. You know me and wanting to encourage housing for disabled folks, including that in development. That's something that's pure code, or could that be? Okay.
Code work. Yeah, I think when we're talking about anything that is going to be land use oriented or something that's gonna be, code stuff. I think this is just the government structure.
And policy.
Policy, top end policy that's established by the voters, right? So there's essentially multiple levels that occur. There's voter-induced policy, that is like large umbrella stuff. There's council-induced policy, and then there's like staff-induced policy. So there's policy that I might set up for my staff members that they have to follow. There's policies that the council establishes that myself and all the staff follow. And then there's policies that the citizens of King City establish. Council and the planning commission and everybody in the organization follow. So that's what we're working on. We're working on that very, very high level stuff and just setting the umbrella for how we want our government to be structured and how we want it to operate.
With input from the voters.
Yeah, because everything we do in here has to go to the voters for approval.
And I plan on, especially if we're gonna meet only once a month, I'm gonna go around to the community and talk to them, ask them what's their input. I think that's probably real critical.
Yeah. And I think, just knowing, a lot of the times, talk about structure of government, how it's going to work, just need to look at what's been vetted as well. So going back and looking at best practices around the board from other government agencies and understanding what those implications are, because a lot of the folks, John Q. Public off the street, might not even understand the implications of certain elements or whatever. Knowing what we have working here and having the people in this room focused on this stuff and ensuring that it's something that we, community as a whole, desires, both short and long term. It's really important. Also, understanding that we are still a small city. We can't really structure a government where we have like a Beaverton style, where it's like paying your mayor $200,000 a year. And we don't have that.
But she's the city, I mean, that role is city manager as well,
Well,
not just.
no, it's, they have a chief of staff, so they have that person, and then they have a COO, like Chief Operating Officer. Then that's your city manager, and then but we don't have that ability here to do full top-level administrative roles.
At 20 times the people? 20 times the
Yeah,
taxpayers?
I mean, they have 100,000 people, we have 5,000.
I was pretty close on 20.
Big difference, and I think looking at other cities of our size and nature and kind of hearing those is be beneficial in establishing what we think is now that might be something for a compensation committee to actually review, not necessarily us. But understanding what other cities of our size and makeup do function.
What would be also useful to think about is the mayor has a lot of additional duties, being involved in the mayor's, Jonathan.
Exactly.
So I think if we decide to do something, the mayor probably should get,
More hours.
a lot
A
more.
lot more hours, yeah. I mean, the mayor role actually takes, I would say, from my experience, just the administrative duties of this organization, probably anywhere from 20 to 30 hours a month at least, if not more. And then, but then you have all your, and that's just the administrative duties for this building here. That doesn't include responding to emails and everything else, right? Because that's a whole another animal. Yeah, it's a whole nother animal altogether. So, the hours of interacting with the staff here are probably, on an average basis, anywhere from 5 to 10 hours a week. And then the interactions with the mayor, with the other councilors as well. One animal, and then you have the other animal being all the emails that come across their desk and the phone calls and everything else. Mayor Thompson can speak to that.
Speaking of Mayor, how's Rachel?
Just started, just getting her on board. She actually, I talked to her about setting up the agendas for May, which is gonna be a busy month, but she did a great job of, maintaining order at the last meeting.
Yeah.
I was happy to see. It was
It ran a great meeting.
It's been very difficult, the turnover in January, getting orderly meetings to occur. So it was really nice to actually have an orderly procession toward the end of that meeting, and we got through it. So I texted her afterwards and was like, thank you, nice job, way to maintain order. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it will continue. We still have some issues that we need to work through, and I don't want to say too much, but it's just basically being agreeable and still being able to disagree, and being civil toward one another. And that's where we've really, really struggled of late. And it's just that civility and respect for one another. And trying to get them there has been quite a challenge, because I'm trying to figure out where we sit parliamentary, I'm trying to figure out what parliamentary process we're following, and we're all over the board, because no one really has a background in what parliamentary process to follow. So I'm sitting there trying to follow Robert's rules and parliamentary process, and I'm going, I don't know what's going on right now, because this is going on over here, and that's not how that's done, and this is going on over there, and that's not how that's done, and no one's been recognized, and everybody's spouting off motions and seconds and everything, and I'm just like, I don't know what's going on right now. And I'm supposed to be taking notes, and I'm supposed to be guiding the council on maintaining order, and there's no order. So it's been a very difficult 4 months to date, because you have folks that are very green and don't know anything about parliamentary procedures, and nor are they willing to listen to guidance on how to properly run those things. So it's been a challenge, but we're working on it.
What's interesting is a couple of years ago, the KCCA board was just like that too. It was incredible. People yelling and screaming at each other, and it's like, oh my God, people don't want to participate in that kind of.
Exactly. It's really hard. It's been very hard. Probably this is the most challenging. I've been doing this for 20, 25 years now. Most challenging. So, that's it.
I thought
Did we vote on it?
I'll second the meeting times of the second of May.
I heard a second.
Second of May, 10 to noon, 2-hour meetings.
So who made the motion?
Excuse me.
So who's their motioner, Shauna?
I'm making the second. Oh, I thought I seconded that.
I move that we meet the second Friday of every month for the next 5 to 6 months, depending on how many meetings we,
I second that one.
from 10 to noon.
Still your second.
I don't know.
And I already went through the dates if you want to write them down.
May 9th, June 13th, July 11th, August 8th, and September 12th.
I've got those on my calendar.
Perfect.
So are any of those holiday, oh, 8,
Eight?
my birthday.
Oh. A cupcake.
Well, then, this was my mom's birthday. so.
Okay.
And if you're unable to attend the meeting, who do we notify? You, the chair, the group as a whole?
Notify, if you just notify me or Ronnie, notify me and CC Ronnie, and we should be good. You're gonna be here if I'm not, so I'll just make sure you're lieutenant.
So Ronnie, you said, no, we can't do that.
Yeah,
If
so,
you refer to email.
yeah, so for emails, do not email each other, not text each other, because you guys are a public entity. Okay? You guys want to chat, there's only 2 at a time. Okay? All business needs to be done here at City Hall. So if you have your notes, write them down, then come to the next one next week with all your notes, your concerns, questions, and all that good stuff.
You might put that in a reminder email to.
I will, trust me.
Keep it clean.
Yeah,
So we can talk to each other, we just can't talk about this.
Yeah.
you can talk to each other.
No,
have
it's-
coffee, just don't talk about city business. Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
Oh, yes,
Is there any further discussion? I'll call the question.
All those in favor of the second Friday of every month?
Can I ask a question, Mike?
How do we address, inconsistencies, or there seems to be a lot of things in the municipal code that maybe conflict with the charter or make it more confusing? How do we handle that?
Code amendments have to be taken through a, pop-up procedure. It's a, different animal altogether, but what has to happen is we address our charter. And what we would have to do is go through a pop-up amendment, post-acknowledgement plan amendment.
The most helpful thing that you can do, Shauna, is to identify it
Flag it.
and let us know,
Yeah.
and then we'll take a look.
Shauna, planning commission job. Do what? Our June meeting, and, that's the actual
June 11th, I think.
potential, amendments.
We'd
To the
have to
code?
go in afterwards and make amendments to our code, to make sure that they're consistent with our.
Coming up, November.
So once the charter is adopted, if there's inconsistencies, we'd have to flag those and go in and,
I feel like amending the charter is the easy thing.
I think meshing it so that they work well together is gonna be more challenging.
yes, I agree.
There's a lot of stuff in the code that is really dated.
Yeah, like our
It
tree ordinance.
needs a bit of an overhaul.
Yeah.
Just
The whole thing like the posting, public postings and
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah.
the pass at large, annoying children is against the law. The
Oh.
language says you cannot annoy children. I'm assuming because when it was only KCCA, people would get angry at like other people's grandchildren and stuff.
Oh.
You mean you're not allowed to?
Annoy the children?
Yeah, you cannot annoy the children.
Annoying children.
No.
Yes, they are. See? You're not
But you can only imagine what that city council meeting must have been like,
I might be in trouble for blowing up balloons.
And they are there all day.
Yeah.
And the noise and
Yeah. Oh, and I just wanted to read this one part, since just circling back to the compensation. This is out of the City of Tigard's new charter, and they worded it, I think, just beautifully and really concisely, and it says, compensation. The council will adopt by resolution or ordinance an independent review process for determining the compensation of the mayor and councilors.
Perfect.
Beautiful, concise.
That's ideal.
Yes.
Right, because it's an umbrella and it leaves it up to the policymakers to
Yep.
determine what they do.
Yep.
And that's what we're aiming for, right? Like, when we think about this stuff, the more prescriptive you get, the more difficult it is to operate, right? So we want to make sure that we give the council the fluidity and flexibility to operate this. Remember, this is a multi-million-dollar operation that we're operating here, and that we need the flexibility to actually do what we need to do. And the council needs the flexibility to make those, so keeping it high level, keeping it broad, keeping it, so there's flexibility is the key to success.
I have another question. I noticed in our charter, there's a lot of, for example, the very first sentence, we the people of King City, under the Constitution and laws of the United States. There's a lot of references to the laws of the United States that we will follow. The reason I bring this up is that we have, like, marijuana stores, and that's federally against the law. So we're not really following the United States law. So I'm wondering, could that potentially get us in trouble? Because especially with everything going on right now in politics, things can and potentially will change in a lot of arenas. How do we address that? And I noticed that the City of Tigard doesn't refer to the law of federal law as much as we do in ours. They refer to the state laws.
So there are portions of the United States Constitution and those elements, amendments, things of that nature, that states have certain rights over, and vice versa. Like, states are granted certain like state. It's almost like our home rule charter in a sense. Like, we have a home rule charter that's supposed to give us legislative control over things that we do. But the state of Oregon always implements these rules that come over and trump our charter, and everyone screams, oh, it's a home rule charter. So it's similar to that, where, like, the U.S. Constitution is designed to give the states power, and then the states have their own governing constitution, and then each city has their own governing charter, which is supposed to be our home rule charter. So I think it's a legal question in a sense, but at the same right, I think we have the right to make our own laws as a home rule city. And challenging question, because we can't go too far. I don't see why you couldn't take it out and just. Yeah, exactly. Well, that, and we're dealing with ourselves.
Well,
so.
and just like the oath, our oath of office says that we shall support the Constitution and laws of the United States, State of Oregon. Conversely, the Tigard Charter gives an oath to support the ordinance of the City of Tigard.
Yeah.
I think it's just way better. Like, I'm not here to, we're not lawyers, right? We're not taking.
And we're not federal representatives.
Right, I think
We're here to represent Tigard.
Right.
You could actually fix that by saying applicable laws.
Add one word.
Well, I think just removing it, like I said, let's all go through and compare and contrast the Tigard one with the King City one between this meeting and the next. And I'm happy to make copies of it. I printed it up last night.
Ronnie's gonna.
Ronnie's gonna get it.
That'd be awesome.
And they are, and send us the link too, because
That was it.
Yeah.
I just downloaded it.
I have it.
And then you'll see like how they've really consolidated. I mean, their charter's short for a bigger city,
And it should be.
This
Should.
But, of course, the there a youth point in there? That was the one that, when I, like 8 years ago, came and said, I'd like to see a, young person on the planning commission or the city council, because the planning commission, it's their future.
But,
And,
and that has to be in the charter.
and that's what I was told, it needs to be in the charter, and that's why I volunteered, because I've been working for 8 years.
All right, get it in there.
Thank you for reminding me. We talked about that.
Other one,
What is the youth in your mind?
somebody that is in high school, when I came up, under 18, a student. At the time, I remember, because Ken Gibson was the mayor, and I said, the big lugs on the Tualatin football team all live in King City, and they don't have any representation, because it just happened, there were 6 big boys that were on the line of the Tualatin football team that lived in King City.
Oh, funny.
And it just, it just happened, and at the time, Dawn, one of the gals that was on Rivermead, her son was a freshman. And I thought, man, they're talking about his property. And he's a sharp enough kid. I thought, oh man, he'd be really good. Hear that other side.
The Rivermead's not in.
But we're in the planning commission, it's the urban growth boundary. So, anyway, and Kathy Stallkamp is the person that you work with, but, she's kind of holding me because to do the, anti-stuff. So I've written to her a lot on that to get the high school, and, not on her agenda.
She was a King City person?
She's the one that does the outside of King City over at the Deer Creek meeting.
Oh.
She's the student.
She lives on 131st, right?
The last house, and somehow, when your growth boundary got expanded, her house didn't come in.
Oh,
So
interesting.
somebody did something.
Oh, very interesting.
She's the second to the last house.
Her house is not in the growth boundary.
Okay.
Yeah, that area is not. It's just one little square. Back when it was expanded in 1998, 99, her and her neighbors banded together, and my predecessor was not willing to battle it out. Well, the urban growth boundary was supposed to expand all the way out to 150th. But Kathy Stallkamp and her neighbors and the folks over in Rivermead were fighting the urban growth boundary expansion. And so they just stopped at the power lines and left her out. So all they did is take the Brown property, Leonard and Derek Brown's property, which extended from East Bend all the way down the river. They own that whole stretch. But the people that own Mountain View Mobile Estates,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it was Tualatin Development Company bought that property from them. That was their old farm, and then they just did that mobile home park, Mountain View Mobile.
They owned the Edgewater property too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they sold it all.
That's where that 1 acre is,
131st, no, that was owned by Washington County. It was an old sewer outfall. Yeah, it used to be it's where our sewer treatment plant was down in that area.
Until it was,
And then we switched to Unified, and then Unified cut off the pipe and went down to the suction, what is it, pump that's down there off River's Edge, yeah.
The property at 131st has a funny history, Steve, because if you look at the archival records of the city, there's like an article in 1969 from King City City Council toasts to the construction and opening of this sewer pump, and then 20 years later, and then there's another article that says sewer pump overflows, disaster for King City, and then in 1990, it's King City toasts the closure of the sewer pump. Kind of story you can put together if you're reading all these old newspaper clippings.
And then the property converted to, I think the property then converted to adjacent property owner who then defaulted on taxes, and then it went to Washington County. And then we've been trying to get it from Washington County for 10 years or more. And then finally Washington County was like, okay, we'll get it. And then now we're having a debate on.
$70,000 for an acre of land on the river.
Yeah. But see, our goal is to get a lot of that land.
No, that,
And of,
like old as like I am,
but as those,
farm isn't gonna stay farm.
right, well, it's in the flood zone.
Yeah, it's gonna end up,
All flood zone land, and so that's why, that's the long range goal, and to have that long range vision of, like what Tualatin is doing right now, is like a piece of property along the river opens up, they buy it from the property, and then they put their riverfront trail and parkland. And then maybe like it's 5, 6 properties down later, now that person was willing, they're selling off their land, or developers developing it, well, the city purchases the riverfront property again, their trail along there, and there's access. And so, but those pieces take generations on board. And so every time we have an opportunity like this, we need to seize it, or we'll never be able to complete the.
cheap opportunity.
Not bad, really,
And we have money that we can only spend on that.
on property acquisition.
So I have a
Anyways,
question.
So we had talked in the beginning of the meeting about ground rules. We're gonna do that at the next meeting, or should we do that now?
Ground rules are already set in the ordinance.
Well, no, we're talking about like operating rules, like,
For the committee.
so like their own committee setting rules. So,
I believe that's already done.
yeah, but we're gonna talk about like operating rules within themselves so that they can self-govern. And I know that there's some in the resolution, but.
The next meeting.
Yeah, it's the next meeting, exactly. So this meeting was essentially to establish our schedule and, appointment of officers, and so we've done that, so we can just adjourn at any time, really. And then at the next meeting, we'll have our first agenda being like establishing the rules for debate and, how we go about doing most of this stuff and walking through it, and at that point in time, I hand it off, and the chair can start us, wherever they so desire.
Yeah, and what, I really think your idea was great, Shona, and why don't we, plan to focus on maybe 1 or 2 articles a month? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
You're looking at the tiger.
Well, no, I've got,
Yeah.
point of undertaking. You know, maybe a couple of articles.
Mhm.
And I agree with you, the preamble needs to be,
Right, that's, yeah.
So what I'd like to do is maybe take, at each meeting, maybe we take a couple sections at a time.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So are you thinking, well, we can get together at a time, but,
yeah, I was thinking, you know, the preamble and things about Article 1, I don't think there's going to be changes there. Article 2.
maybe we establish a list of items that we want to go and look at, and then we come back and,
I already have all my notes on the preamble article and
But
yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So we're gonna review preamble, Article 1 and Article 2
Yeah.
next time?
Yeah.
Between now and then, we should come up with our
Parallel
thoughts.
to that, so, okay.
Yeah.
So preamble and Article 1 and 2.
We talked about at city council that was a charter change with zombie houses. That I didn't, a couple times, I think Gretchen brought it up years ago. And, I mean, the house next door to me has been vacant for 2.5 years.
That's a big house.
No.
The big house, the
Big zombie
all
house?
broken out of
The
it.
gray house.
That's in the county.
That's the zombie house, and that's Tigers.
Yeah, that's not, oh, yeah.
It's a KCCA house.
That side is
Second house
You're talking
is,
about the one on, like King Arthur, whatever it is?
Albert.
Prince, yeah.
so I'm between Prince Albert and Prince Eddie.
okay.
Prince Edward. And the house on Prince Albert, that's the second one down.
It had all the weeds and stuff.
No, it's maintained,
Oh, okay.
and but it's just been vacant. And, it's the Armour, Tracy and Roy Armour, and she died and he's back in Florida, and they just put a for sale sign on it, roofed it yesterday. So when I had it on the list, there's been some activity, but it's not, I am not concerned, it just reminded me. I am not worried about that vacant house next door, because everybody looks out, and the only way they can access it is from my yard. And they're, you know, like, going to my yard into theirs. And so I'm not worried about homeless people or anything, but it's just the concept.
I feel like that's more of a code issue than a charter issue.
I-
Because the city is limited right now with our ability to enforce things. Yeah, there's a very stringent process that involves notices in the newspaper and multiple
Attempts to reach
out.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
have,
That's one of those code pieces that I need to address.
that's a code thing.
personnel to do that?
But we don't, but we don't have a lot of personnel. Like, there's a lot of pieces I wanna put into play, but we don't have the budget for it yet.
The other reason,
So, like, I would love to have a code enforcement person, a HR person, a, building official, a building inspector, like, a public information officer who we're bringing on, but there's like probably a dozen positions that I would love to hire, but you just have to strategically put them in as the rooftops become available. So, as the rooftops come online, start plugging those pieces in until we actually have a functioning.
Do you have a schedule for that, Mike?
I have a list.
Roughly.
Yeah, I mean, essentially we get about 200 to 250 houses per year. So that gives me roughly $200,000 in additional, that's about one position, maybe one and a half. So it'll take me multiple years to add multiple positions, and by the time we're all said and done, we should be a city of about, 13 to 14, when it's all done, 20 years. Nothing's gonna happen fast. It's gonna be like a couple hundred houses here, a couple hundred houses here. But by the time we get to about year 5, I think I should be able to transfer in building codes. So that should give me a population hopefully of around 8,000 to 9,000, and then I think at that point, it's sustainable. Bring on a building official and a building inspector. And then that'll help out our building department, maybe add a planner beneath, community development. So ideally, what I have is a community development director, a human resource manager, public works director, a finance manager, you know, and a building official under the admin side and the chief, right? So that gives me my 6 heads, department heads, and under each department, there's a number of folks. So we've listed it out. I have notes on what the ideal on how many pieces. Getting there takes a long time.
When I was on the council, we started saving money in our budget to be, each year, we set aside a chunk so that there'd be that pool, because they knew they had to hire him quite a while before they would get $1 in.
seems to me we grew enough to have a rock.
Deficit. We basically brought Max in with the anticipation that permits were gonna be coming in. We didn't have the budget to afford him, so we were gonna pull out of our reserves to pay for his salary. And we brought him in, and then within a week, we received an application for 1,000 units and instantly paid his salary for the year, so.
And so your source of income on those 200 new rooftops is taxes that are gonna be paid. What about STCs? Can you use that?
Yeah, so no, STC money is only for capital improvement. I can't use staff, or I can't fund staff out of STCs. I can only fund capital investments, capital purchases, and, like structures, infrastructures, things of that nature. So
That piece of property.
buying property, developing structures such as, roads, bike paths, there's a
Grant
different.
money.
Yeah, I mean, we can use matching grant money to do like, park improvements and things of that nature. And so we have to strategically use funds to offset other funds to give us fluidity, to get other funds to do projects.
That's the need for finance manager.
Yes. Yeah, and I mean, Mira's been great. She's been with us for a long time, but like having Katie on board as a CPA that understands has been a big relief off of my shoulders, because ever since, we basically lost, Mike Marr. I have not had, the ability to consult with a CPA on a regular basis. So it's been almost 2 years of not being able to get a clear picture of where we sit financially and what our financial projections are, 5 years down the road. So, having Katie on board now is like a huge relief.
Will that help with your audit?
Oh, yeah, we're almost caught up now. So we have the last year's audit to finish up. They're already working on it right now, but having Katie on board just the last, months, she's been on about 6 months, we've already finished the audit that we were struggling with Excel, and now we're working on last year's audit. So it'll be time, but it's just the frustration of not having that resource for almost 2 years. Like we had Mike Marr, and then 1 month turned to 2 months, turned to 3 months, would get caught up. 3 months would turn to 4 months, 5 months, he'd get caught up. And it was like, come on, man.
Kind of a
And it
dinosaur.
was really frustrating. I know Mayor Thompson was around for part of that, but it was really frustrating. And then finally, we just were like, too much. And we pulled the cord on it, and then we contracted with Castell. And the type of information that we got from Castell's accountants wasn't as entailing or a full picture as what we really need for a full financial setup. Running balances and all the financial projections and everything else. We just weren't getting that sort of stuff from Castell. So finally, we were just like, this is not what we need, and then got the RFP for a new accountant and got Katie on board, and she's been great. So feeling like we're almost full.
Mike, on that same topic, I know when this was being remodeled, and when you, whatever that, I'm positive, you interviewed another CPA firm, and at the time, Polly Rogers, you chose to say, that's been quite a few years.
Yeah.
And I really would like I brought it up at City Council. I think you've gotten crappy service from Polly. And they seem to have, like the kid that was here the young man that was here the other day. I could tell he'd only been on, he said he'd only been on the job 6 months, he picked it up. We've gone through, in those years, she's given us, there's more than that, Mike. She's gone through about 8 people. She can't keep, she barely made the cut back when. And since then, she's failed. Anyway.
Well, Mayor Manera and I had sat down back in January, and we had met with Polly Rogers auditors at the time, and we gave them an earful about this is just basically unacceptable. And they gave us wow, we've gone through so many different auditors and people get a swinging gate sort of thing. And we're like, well, we're just stuck in this situation where your swinging gate is negatively impacting us. And so, we were really frustrated with those outputs that we were getting from them. Plus, it was just a really frustrating situation. And so, Mayor Manelis and I had basically talked about it. Following that meeting, and our plan was get through these audits, get caught up, and then we're putting out an RFP for a new audit service. So that's because if we get rid of them now, that delays us another 6 months.
I understand, but it needs to be, it needs to be talked about, and
our hope was get caught up, get through these audits, get everything done, get on track, and then put out the RFP for a new audit firm.
I'm sending a link to that young man for Toastmasters, that presentation.
I know. Yeah, I know.
Thank you, Rodney.
But anyways, we're basically done with our agenda today, unless there's anything else that we need to discuss.
I just wanted to mention,
I didn't see it last night when I reviewed it, so I just reviewed again the Tiger Charter. I don't see anything in here about youth counselors, but I know they have youth counselors.
Yeah.
So that leads me to believe that it doesn't need to be on the charter.
How it's written accommodates it. Thank you.
Donna, it's fine for the council. It's planning commission.
Oh,
State law.
oh, good to know.
According to who? So you can have a youth on the city council.
The laws relating to planning commissions are separate, less than anything else. It's sort of this thing off to the side.
We can look at it. Youth council members for, are you saying youth council are you asking us to look into youth council members for city council and planning commission, or?
Is that what you're looking for? Or are you just looking for city council?
I'm looking for an opportunity to work with the high school and give a kid an opportunity so that they get their feet wet early on civic duty.
Yeah.
I don't care which way it is, just an opportunity.
So over the past 8 years, I've had a number of high school interns.
Huh? But they're from Tigard, Mike.
Yeah, they are from Tigard.
That, I have an issue with that.
Because, well, he calls me and is like, hey, do you
I
have-
know. And Kathy Stahl?
I placed an intern with you, and I'm like, yes,
Yes.
I think we can try to accommodate an intern for the semester or quarter or whatever it is that they do.
And I do understand that. You're getting the cooperation from them. It's so nice to give them the opportunity too. I just think it's unfortunate that, like I said, the big lugs on the front line didn't get an opportunity.
Well, they need to have their school call us and set up a
And
program.
I tried. I did try. I talked to a few.
If you say state law is directing us, can or can't do that, what else is state law directing us?
Yeah, I think we're gonna need to have an attorney. I think we'll have to have, I don't know.
That would be constraining us, I would
It
think.
needs,
We
it
need to
needs
work
to
with
be in
the
our
family.
charter to allow it.
Well, that's an interesting point, Christian, but the charter doesn't even mention the planning, like, at all.
Because it's established as a city council.
It's a state established, and it's just that, they're not saying you can't have a member, it's saying you have to specifically.
Does it have to be in the charter, or can it be in the code, the municipal code?
Municipal code.
Planning Commission code, right?
Yeah.
The charter is just tells,
Yes, it's
Yeah.
the big picture,
Anyway.
not a little.
No, I brought it up when you were on there, I brought up the issue, you know, and
right.
when I testified.
We were under the understanding it had to be in the charter, but it makes a lot more sense that it would need to be in the municipal code,
I think so too.
which I think you said the planning commission is going over, so I think that's probably the appropriate time to
And
add
if
in
you
the youth counselor
have bright
at the
ideas
planning
about
commission
code, we're gonna be
level.
starting to
Yeah.
create.
The charter needs to be written to allow, like, however the Tiger Charter's written, it allows it, so we just need to make sure.
Not as
It
it's
doesn't.
mentioned,
Ours doesn't even talk about it either.
You meant,
So,
I think it's the
code level.
yeah. Ours is municipal code is where you.
What we could probably do is look at the Tiger municipal, and how they wrote theirs, and guide us.
Like Title I or something.
Reinventing the wheel.
I think, Mike, this would be code. When I sat on the planning commission in Tigard, they required to have a real estate attorney on the council, on the planning commission, and they had like an engineer and somebody in the construction, kind of expert, and then the rest would be regular people. And I'm wondering if that would really be nice if we could, in the long run, try
Recruit those
to
people?
recruit
Alright.
specifically for
I think
professionals.
things like that would be great, once we hit like that 10-year point, or
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
10,000 resident point, or something like that, where we have more people that,
I'm
A
just.
bigger pool to pull from.
yeah.
That brings it up a good point also, just by the way, I'm reminding you guys, because you're all active members of the community, that there is an open seat
Oh, okay.
as of last month. Not sure when.
And on the city council too, right?
Hmm?
They're taking applications when Mayor knows.
Steve, I'm looking at you.
I applied already.
What's that?
I applied.
Oh, okay.
Well, if you get it, your office commits.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, you can't be on this committee if you're on the,
Oh,
What's that?
conflict of interest.
Counselors on the charter committee.
Well,
Just-
That's written to get.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, and good chance of it happening, but,
a good problem to have, right?
Yeah.
and we've strong family's life to play with.
There you go, there you go.
Do you want to formally adjourn?
Okay,
People can leave.
okay.
So we'll resume, or we'll meet again on May 9th from 10 to 12, right?
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I asked for a motion.
I move that we adjourn this meeting and reconvene May 9th at 10 a.m.
I second.
All in favor?
10:48.
Thanks, everyone.
Great meeting.
We chat a lot in that, in our meetings.
We'll be more focused next time. Is somebody gonna come up with an agenda, or are we just gonna?
There was an agenda today.
Well,
But it wasn't